Welcome to Chino Y Chicano.
I'm Matt Chan, the Chino.
I'm Enrique Cerna, the Chicano. Well, Matt, it was about a year ago that we started talking about doing a podcast. And then we decided, let's go ahead and give it a shot. We came up with the title Chino and Chicano because obviously you're the Chino since you're Chinese American, and I'm Chicano because I'm Mexican American. And we thought, what the hell? We're going to do this thing. So it's been kind of fun doing this.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I mean, we've
you know,
stayed true to it, right?
I
We're
think
not
so.
code switching, and
No.
we've only had one white guest, Rick Schenkman. Yeah,
Yeah. Our token white guy, whether he liked it or not. I don't know what other people would think of that, but what the hey. But I think when we started this, we were, going to go into 2021 after 2020, which was a year that was hellish because of the pandemic. And I don't know about you, but there was this sense of hope that 2021, we were really going to come out of things, and not so much.
yeah.
I
Well,
guess,
the big thing for me was Trump got voted out, right? I
yeah,
mean,
there you
and
go.
but then the shit show continued,
Yeah,
right? January 6th is
right.
so
Yeah, it just
that's
went.
how it started. That's how the year started,
I
right?
know, bonkers. So I guess the question that I want to take up here is, did 2021 suck as much as 2020?
Yeah.
And I have to say for myself, um, it did, and in different ways, because I've had personal things that had happened, but also just I think, like I mentioned, I think going into 2021, there was a sense of hope that we were going to get a vaccine, and we are all kind of talking about, okay, how do we find a place where we can get a vaccine and all of that. And then I think there was a lot of hope that we were going to come out of things. And then the variants hit, hit the Delta variant. And now we've got yet another variant. And it's just this, you're wondering, is this really gonna end? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we spent 4 years under Trump, which was just I mean, it was being
Shit show.
terrorized every day that you'd wake up and you'd see on your news feed some horrendous bullshit that
Right.
they've done that doesn't affect you directly, but it just damages your psyche for the hope that this world is going to be better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have January 6th, and then there was that fight for like, okay, the vaccines are here. How the hell do you get a shot? And I know there were a lot of anxious moments for me and my wife and you and everybody trying
Right.
like, okay, where do we get our
All
shots at?
all of us as friends trying to figure, and we were helping each other try to locate
Yes,
a shot.
yes.
Yeah, right.
I just felt like it was like Charlie Brown, where Lucy's holding the football and he said like, yeah, and then boom, they pull the football away.
Right.
And that's kind of how I feel. I think 2021 for me sucked more in the sense that you were so hopeful
Right.
that it was going to be good. And like you said, everybody got the shots. Everybody was cool. There's still the anti-vaxxer bullshit that continues to this day.
Right.
But you thought summer would be great. You planned vacation stuff, and then the Delta variant hit.
Right.
I mean, it just, I don't know.
It poured cold water on things because things really started getting out of control. And of course, the hospitals have been just overrun and continue to be, as the Omicron variant now is a concern. We still don't know just how, you know, significant that is or how deadly it might be. We just know that it's there. But I look at this year as being. I mentioned to you, my father used to have this old International pickup truck, and it was this god awful yellow and orange color, and he had problems with the kingpins that were, I guess, controlled the axle and the wheels and all of that stuff. So you'd be driving down the road and it'd be running okay. And then next thing you know, it's shaking like it's going into convulsions. And that's how I feel kind of things are right now in the country. And to some extent in my life, because I never know one day to the next as to, are things going to be running smoothly, and then are they going to go just kind of out of control, and you're trying to grab the steering wheel again to bring it under control, and
You know,
that's a hard way to live.
well, yeah, I don't know. I try to think about that because, in our lives, we've had a lot of periods where things were pretty shitty.
Right.
And when you're younger, you don't seem to think about it. I mean, I think about all the stuff that happened in the world, when I was raising a family, going to school, all that stuff. It didn't affect you. I think we have more time to think about it and
Yeah.
more history to reflect on it. So it bothers us more. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know about you, but I really have stopped kind of consuming mass market news like cable news and stuff
Right.
because it's just, if there isn't a crisis, let's invent one. And
Right.
everything is huge. We continue to give these clowns the Republican clowns in Congress, every stupid utterance becomes headline news. And that just reinforces it. Didn't we learn our lesson with Trump that the more airtime you give these morons, the more they become legitimized? And there is no reason these people should be legitimized.
Right. Now, okay, I'm a journalist. I mean, that was my career, and I obviously believe in
I'm sorry about
journalism.
that.
Hey, dude, you remember you're the one that came up with hoarders, you know? So, I mean, I believe in local journalism and in journalism, but I have to say that, and I've felt this for a long time, that cable news and even talk radio, to a large extent, really it's bad for our democracy. And because it's like you say, it's this 24-hour cycle, and it's always making something out of nothing a lot of
Yes.
times. My biggest problem is that it's not really journalism. It's
No.
it's commentating and its opinion, and they are very, very different. A journalist reports what's going on, and
And provides
but
context.
right, context, and you're it's really laying out the background. But in today's world, it's all about making a comment and an editorial comment first, and then looking for the context.
Well,
And
news is covered like sports, right?
right, it's
You
almost like a
you
score.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
describe just what happened and then you speculate on the motives.
There you go. Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's what's so inane about it. It's
Right.
become a sport. But, and again, it used to be like journalists were gatekeepers, right? You
Right.
take the information, you take the events, interpret them, and put out a fact based statement to inform the public.
Right.
Right now, it's no longer a gatekeeper. They're the guys shoveling coal into the steam engine. They got to keep shoveling to keep the thing chugging. And
That's
that
right.
is not journalism.
That's right. And it's just, I have to tell you that sometimes I think what's far more journalistic are comedy type shows and
Oh,
comedians.
yes.
They comment. I'd rather listen to them because they make better points, and oftentimes really explain things much more clearly in an entertaining way. I mean, Colbert does that great. Trevor Noah does that great. Of course, Jon
Oh,
Stewart was the king of it all, but and even Dave Chappelle in his way. Yeah, it's brutal, but the fact is, it is so truthful. At least
well,
I
but
can watch
yeah,
that, and you know where they're coming from.
good comedy is based in truth.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a simple fact, and
right,
they're telling it the way people understand it, right?
right,
There's this code in journalism that puts a kind of veneer on it that it's of respectability, but it's just Joe Buck and what's his face commenting on the
Troy
game,
Aikman.
Troy
Yeah,
Aikman
right.
commenting on the game.
Right. And a lot of times, and which kind of kills me because Aikman played the game, and it's all speculating about how somebody made a play or whatever. And sometimes it's like you just want them to shut up, but and just let the play, see the visuals and let it play out, and on all those things. But I don't know. I was very hopeful coming into 2021 that things would really kind of loosen up and lighten up and get better. Right now, I have to really say that I'm fearful for the country, and I'm fearful for our democracy. I found it interesting, Brian Williams from NBC, when he signed off on his the cable show he was doing, and he made he said that there was this darkness in the country, and I have to agree, he was really right on when he said that, and um, that concerns me a lot because I really do think that not enough people in the country are concerned about the shape of our democracy and how it's being tugged and torn apart, being chipped away. And I see voting in the country being threatened and elections being threatened by what Republicans are doing in states. And I just wish something actually would really come down. It's been, almost a year. Um, just something regarding January 6th. Because
Yeah, well,
how can people not realize that there was really an attempted coup in the country?
how could they not realize the plague was visited upon the world?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I all of it points to just the sheer ignorance and the inability of people to think beyond themselves,
Right.
right? I mean, what happened to the commons? What happened to when everybody unified to work? I mean, work for towards a goal to make everyone's lives better. Everything is just I got mine, screw you. I mean, there's nothing that represents that more than the anti-vaxxers,
Right.
right? And how the news covers it, right? You hear a lot about like, well, Latinos are unvaccinated and they're the cause of stuff. No, white people, these stupid white people, are the majority of the unvaxxed, and they're the ones who have the megaphone. But yet they're going to vilify brown people always for everything. I mean, it's the classic accuse them of what you're doing.
Well,
And the fact of the matter is, it's white people that are refusing to get vaccinated. The ones that are predominantly white.
yeah, it's a pecking order, so they got to
Yes.
look at somebody else to peck on and to put down. Um, and I think if you really look at it, people of color are really probably trying more than others, are trying hard to make sure they are protecting their communities and getting vaccinated. And obviously there's concern. I think there's many different barriers for all of this stuff, uh, just in language and in history, all these issues that part of the country, even talking about just all of this debate over critical race theory.
Oh
One
my
one of
God.
the biggest problems there is that people don't really even understand what it's all about,
They don't
you
know. They
know
just hear phrases.
well, and then they've taken, those critics of it have taken this thing and have come up. Well, again, it's the whole misinformation thing. We've talked about this with,
Yeah, but it's ignorance. How can they say
yeah,
like, oh, they're communists or fascists? You can't be the same thing.
yeah,
That's like saying you're a Christian and an atheist.
right. Misinformation though is just as bad as, it's become a virus. Let's
Yeah,
face it.
well,
And
it's social media.
yeah,
Social media is
right.
devastating, and the TikTok thing, it's cute, but it is warping the minds of young children. I mean, never thought I would say that because
God, we
I'm
sound old and conservative.
no, but I think it becomes a public health risk.
I think you're right. And
You know,
yeah, yeah. And
because
yeah,
young kids are too young to discern what is good, what is bad. They do when they're little, but there
right.
comes that time when, when they hit their mid-teens and just early teen years where they're very impressionable and they're trying to forge their own way. And let me tell you, TikTok is not the way to forge your own way.
Well, video these days, it's become so accessible to everybody because of your phone. And there have been actually positive things about it, I think, particularly in the racial reckoning.
Oh, for
And
sure.
that, the George Floyd case, the Ahmaud Arbery case, countless others that I think you can point to that, we would not have known about what these types of things. Obviously, they've been going on for so many years in our country's history, but now the availability of video and just the accessibility for so many people. But on the downside, it's people that are, I think, to some degree, you look at Facebook now, or even in the other social media platforms, and oftentimes you'll see people post just the stupidest stuff, from fights to
Hmm.
just and again, the misinformation part of
Yeah,
stuff.
I never thought I'd
So
long for the days of cat videos, where they're playing pianos and stuff.
yeah,
Bring those
which I
back.
love actually. Those are the things that I really enjoy watching. I'd rather watch that kind of stuff because at least it makes me feel good, and which is something that I'm longing for more and more these days. Those kind of positive things that might give me some faith in humanity, which is kind of tough to really just you know you you want more of that. You want that
Yeah.
for the country. It only
Well,
brings us together when there's a big crisis of some sort.
yeah. I mean, that's why therapists are constantly saying you need to, you know,
Yeah,
decouple from social
right.
media, from your news feed, from emails. You need the time. Human beings aren't made to be barraged with information and stimulus 24/7. They
Yeah,
just
it's
aren't.
it's overwhelming. It very much is, and I admit I get caught up in it and watch way too much on the phone, way too much. All of these things. Again, it's like taking care of myself to make sure I get out and walk or do something that is just disconnected from the daily information flow because it can zap you and it's overwhelming and it really is. It's just as overwhelming, and
Yeah.
that is not healthy, not good.
Well,
So,
yeah, but there have been good things this year. I mean, right?
yeah.
One of the big healthy things for you is you have a grandson
I have a
now.
grandson, yes. Yeah, September 10th, Nolan Henry Wood was born in yeah, being a grandfather, and you know this already because you were granddad way before me. Just that there is this feeling and depth of love that you suddenly
Oh yeah.
have, and you just hold him. And I haven't held him enough, and I want to. That's what I'm looking for in this coming year. Forward to is to really spend more time with him and just be around him and and I also feel a sense of duty because as a grandfather, you really want to make sure well that you know that they're going to be okay and you're going to do what's necessary to help his mom and dad and all of that and raise him well and but also I have to admit I'm a little concerned about what the future holds for him but I'm
Oh yeah.
trying to stay positive
Well,
about all
the
this.
thing about being a grandparent is, you used to think like, God, I missed my kids' childhood and all the other stuff. But
Yeah,
everyone does
yeah,
because you're building a life, and that's the
yeah.
role of the grandparents is to right all the wrongs you had with your kid, right? To
That's true.
yeah, to indulge them, to love them, just for the sake of loving them, and there
Right,
were
there you
no
go.
responsibility. So I mean, that's what it is, pure love with your
And to
grandkids.
spoil the hell out of them and then give them back to their parents and say, yeah, So yeah, I think that's something I think you're totally right. Yeah, when you are making a life for yourself, you're just so focused on a career. And I look back on that and I think I was way too over focused a lot of time. And so now maybe it's a chance to make up for some of that stuff. And I feel fortunate too that I think I have pretty good relationship with both of my children, my
Oh
daughter
yeah, yeah.
and
I
my
mean,
son. And
I've
so
talked
yeah,
about that to a lot of my friends. A lot of people say, "Well, your kids need to be a super achiever. They need to do better than you." I think at the end of the day, as long as your kids are good people,
right.
that's the biggest thing. Because I know
You're
people
right.
that have troubled children,
Yeah.
and I would not wish that burden on anyone.
It's hard, really hard. When they have difficulties and they are struggling, you feel it. Like
Oh yeah,
you really feel it and you
and you
worry
feel
all the time.
helpless.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And so right now I'm at a time in my life where both of my children I think are doing quite well. And my daughter is a mother now, which she really wanted to be. And my son-in-law is a great guy. And my son is doing quite well and I'm very happy for how he's doing, so it's great to see all that. But for me the past year has been kind of bittersweet. On one hand, my grandson was born September 10th, but on September 6th, right before that, on Labor Day, my brother died. And you met my brother
Hmm.
Seraphin, and he'd been ill for a long time with he'd had congestive heart failure and kidney failure. And it was a long journey with him because he had a bad heart attack back in 2002, And yet he was a survivor though, because he was able to live until this past year. But it was really tough because at times his health was really just a difficult thing for him to deal with, and in and out of the hospital. But I have to say that the positive part about it was just the fact that he was able to live as long as he did. And it's always tough to lose somebody, and it sort of brings your own mortality
Oh,
to the
yeah.
front of things. But
When you start
yeah,
losing close family members,
right.
the reality of your life comes into focus,
Yeah,
sharp focus.
yeah, yeah,
And it makes you realize, like, it's limited. So you got to do what you want to do.
right.
And,
Yeah.
and because no one, I mean, this sounds so trite, but no one's guaranteed tomorrow.
No,
And,
not at all. Not at all. When we talked to Essex Porter, who worked at Cairo and just recently retired, and he talked about how his decision to retire, which was something that I thought of too, is just that again, you're not, like you said, you're not guaranteed in how long you're going to live of any sort, and you suddenly start to think of, okay, I, working is not everything. It's just that I need to go and take some time and do some things for myself, and think about what else there is in life, and give yourself, especially after you work for so long, and if you can be able to do that. So that that definitely was something that I thought of a lot when I made the decision about retiring, and just wanting to move on. But so yeah, the good thing again is
well,
just having that grandchild, and that's been just a real positive stuff. And
to
you
me, the
know
good thing too about this here is we get to do this podcast.
there
You
you
know,
go, there you go. Yes, we
um,
have the time to
Well,
do it and
it's
have some
funny
fun.
because we just did it on a lark, and,
We really
we're
did.
pretty consistent. Our
Yeah,
number one download was what happened to civility.
yeah, I
Wasn't
know.
that
I
the one?
was right. Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was Alma Kimura and her story about flying to Santa Rosa or
yeah.
something,
Right.
and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
she got like all like Karened on her plane.
Right.
That was the number one download, and I'm just thinking like that really is something that's on people's minds. It's
Right.
just civility,
Right.
and which I think is it gives me hope. That gives me hope. The fact that people wanted to hear that because they recognize that's unacceptable.
Yeah, and I think they could relate to it. They could see it just kind of getting out of control. Um, and I think the way Alma is, she's a lawyer, and she's a weightlifter, and
Powerless, yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
power lifter. And um, she told this story in a just a very Alma kind of way, because I mean,
yeah.
we know her. She's kind of laid back, and she just kind of tells you things, and it's very straightforward. And I think people could relate to that, and they could also relate to the fact that, and particularly for women, just somebody trying to bully. And what I thought was cool was how she stood up to the guy and
Hmm.
just was like, I'm not moving for you, because he wanted her seat and all this stuff. And so I thought that, yeah, and I think that people could relate to that quite well. And our buddy James Burns, actually, that was another had a lot of downloads, and was listened to a lot. Our
About life
James
in Peru, yeah.
life in Peru, and making that decision to move to Peru, and why he did it, and what it's like to live there as an American, as an African American, living in Peru, which he says actually it's not a big deal,
Well, no,
being
but he's light skinned, right? I mean,
lighter
he's
skin. Yeah, yeah,
lighter
yeah,
skinned,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
the blend is a little bit better. And he said,
Right.
like he said, a lot of times they don't know what he is until he opens his mouth, and he says, "Oh yeah, you're an
Oh, you're an
American."
American.
Even when he's speaking
uh,
Spanish, it's
yeah,
like he's
right,
got an
right.
American drawl or
Right.
something.
Yeah, yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, one of the best things for me was that the Cougs actually, beat the Huskies.
Yeah,
And
we spent a lot of time on Cougar Nation.
we
Yeah,
did, we
as a
did.
duck,
I know.
I was in hiding because of our performance. But
Well, I mean, you guys
I mean,
still
see,
did quite
this shows you the
well.
expectation for the Ducks, right? A 10-2 season, and yet we're shamed, right?
That's because you got the crap kicked out of you by Utah, and then you kind of had to, like, oh man, that was a bad
Yeah, there
performance.
was a
Then you
lot
lose
of
your coach.
squawking there for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I think for the Cougs, it's just that the Cougs have always had this you know attitude of, if you're a Coug, you always feel like you got the sense of second class, I suppose. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but like, so particularly with the Huskies, and since we hadn't beaten them in quite a while, so that was something that was quite sweet. Well, but the other part of it was just the whole controversy over the coach and Nick
Yeah.
Rolovich and his
Yeah, but your victory, I look at it, it's
idiocy.
like kicking an old person when they've fallen. That
Oh,
was the Coug victory.
yeah, well, of course, maybe they deserved it because they've been
Yeah,
beating
well,
us for so long. But it was a good thing. Plus the fact that, I think the coach that we now have, he's a good guy,
well,
and
but it gave us
hopefully
an opportunity to bring in Jack Thompson,
Jack
the throwing
Thompson,
Samoan, Sonny
right,
Six
and Sonny
Killer.
Six Killer, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
this is what's so great about this show, right? We're
yeah,
able to find people of color to represent every viewpoint in a
right,
way that people of color talk.
yeah.
I mean, we're not doing the this week in review. Like, Enrique, what has concerned you about your electric Tesla this
Oh,
week?
good.
It's like, I mean, I was at Whole Foods looking for a Chardonnay, and like, shut up.
Well, okay, I gotta say that I was really pissed to see Elon Musk get the Time Person of the Year.
Yeah, but that's time person year. They would have named Adolf Hitler during the time just to get like, oh, I got to read this.
No, you know what? I saw someone on social media post this, which I thought made it a lot of sense. That was the African American officer
Oh, it was
during
Officer
January.
Goodman.
I think so. Yes,
Yeah.
that he was the one that had to deal with the storming, crazies on
Yeah, one
January
guy against
6th.
a
One
mob.
guy, and he was able to, get them to go in a different direction while he was trying to, fight them off or lead them away from the lawmakers and protect them. That's the guy, or the men that were injured but still, stood up to that mob. Those are the people that should have been the people of the year, because
Yeah, but that's where American culture is, right? Let's worship a billionaire who is only a billionaire because he fleeced you.
yeah, well, okay, that's dumb. That's just
Yeah, but that's
stupid,
that's
and
a whole
that
different.
sucked. I know, but I still think that I would rather have seen those guys.
But the husky cougar as the animal of the year.
There you go. Why not? Why not? So in the coming year, I mean, what's your hope? What do you want?
I want stability.
Yeah.
I mean, even the fact that Bruce Harrell, I mean, Essex Porter said this well. He said the reason Bruce Harrell was elected mayor is he's our Joe Biden. And, like him or not, I think it was a change for stability. We want, I mean, this sounds really stupid, but we kind of want dad back in the house, right? Or mom. We want a strong parental figure that'll tell us things will be okay. We'll work on this together.
Right.
We don't, we just don't, we're done with the like, yeah, they're wrong. Yeah, they should be doing this. They're Nazi stormtroopers. I mean, to compare Bruce Harrell as being a Republican Trumper is so on its face ludicrous.
Well, I hope that he can do something. I mean, okay, Joe Biden at the national level definitely has run into difficulties, and poll numbers are down and all that stuff.
But he still pulled off a couple of big ones.
That's true. But I'd have to say still that he did bring us that sense of, dad is back in the house, and this sense of stability. Yeah, okay, we know that there are other things that are making life difficult for everybody in the country, but at least we've gotten away from the daily
daily
show
shit show. Yeah.
of misinformation and weird information and weird actions, all of that. For the most part, I think we've gotten away from that. Now, okay, if we look at what's happening in Seattle, what's happening here, particularly with homelessness, and this is a national thing. It's not just Seattle. I mean, you go to Portland, you go to Los
income
Angeles, all of that.
inequity, but it
Yes.
really is just limited to a few cities, right? I mean, it's Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, San
Yeah,
Francisco.
but most major cities in the country are facing some type of issue regarding
but not to
homelessness.
the degree
Maybe
the
not.
West Coast. Yeah.
Maybe not to the degree the West Coast is facing. So we have a tremendous challenge here, and I wish I knew what an answer is, because it's so complicated with not just income inequality, but we're also talking uh, huge mental health issues and drug addiction and all of that, that make things that much difficult to get a hold of. But we got to get a hold of it, because I think it's dragging the region down. It's definitely dragging Seattle down. And if you look at downtown, how are you going to revitalize that?
Yeah.
So the challenge is definitely there. And if Bruce Harrell is able to do that, great. I hope he is able to do that. You know, I want to be hopeful that that can happen. I just think it's going to be a heck of a mountain to climb.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in society that's being reflected in Seattle. I mean, the fact is, expectation, I mean, consumerism is at an all time high, right?
right, yeah,
Because consumerism has become so much easier. You don't
right,
even have to put your ass in a car or a bus and go to a store anymore. You can sit there and order up whatever you want.
right.
And it's all available to everybody. So the people that don't have that ability feel left out. I mean, and rightly so, because we haven't shared the wealth between people. And it's not just, making lower prices or something, but actually caring for each other and understanding that, that others have needs. And, as difficult as that is, people vilify the homeless. But, I think something that Bruce said years and years ago when I was in a meeting listening to him, he said, it isn't a crime to be poor,
Right,
but it
right.
is a crime not to help them.
It should be a big
Yeah.
crime. And it's that's right. I think you're right. And I think you make a really good point there. And I hope we can find a way. I really hope we can find a way. I hope what I want is not just stability, but I would really like some unity to happen in the
Unity,
country.
of course,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, because I am so tired of the divisions and the political divisions and that tear people apart and tearing the country apart, and even in families tearing them apart just because of political stands or that are
Everything is
affecting. Yeah, I
politicized. I mean, it's
know.
unbelievable.
Right.
I mean, I
So
was talking to my doctor the other day, who's a cancer doctor, and he said that he's lost a couple of patients to COVID, but he said patients are coming in who have cancer and they're demanding ivermectin. And when
oh
he wouldn't
God.
give it to them, they quit. They drop him and they write him a big letter about how wrong he is. And he's saying, like, good luck to go find a doctor in Seattle that will actually prescribe ivermectin to you.
Right. Well, thank God that
The person has
they are doing
cancer
that.
and they want horse
You
tranquilizer
know, and then
or
they
dewormer, right?
right. Yeah, yeah. I guess one thing I'd like to see happen in 2022 is for somehow maybe Tucker Carlson loses his voice completely. Because I'm just so tired of that BS and just
Oh,
because it's
Fox News
just
in general. I mean,
yeah.
this is what I would say in life, right? People have purposes. What is the purpose of Fox News? What is your
Uh,
end goal? What are you trying to achieve? The destruction of civilization?
Kind of
I mean,
seems that way,
I don't
doesn't
get
it?
what the end game is because he's got money, he's got power.
Right.
So, I mean, if it is that is a pure evil intent. That's what I don't understand. When you say, evil doesn't exist, I think it does to a certain extent when you have things like Fox News.
Right.
And those are people who will say I'm evil for even suggesting that.
There you
But
go. Yes, yeah, we're evil, but there, ah, it's just so wrong, so wrong. And I just would like to see that
so my hope is that the
unchanged.
Seahawks have a winning season next year.
Mine too. And my hope is that we don't lose Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Because I'm a total Russell Wilson fan, and I think this past season, you him getting hurt, which definitely hurt the team. Uh, and he wasn't right. I
Yeah.
think just as we
Well,
speak
I don't
right
know
now,
about you,
he's gotten
but
a little bit better.
what got me through that dark winter of 2020 was football.
Yeah, it's
Because
true.
every week you had something to root for, and for those couple
Right.
of hours you were locked onto your team and it was hopeful. I mean, sports is a great metaphor for stuff. I mean, if people don't
Yeah.
like sports, it's fine. But it's more than just, a bunch of, roided up guys running around the field, right? It's a story within itself,
Right.
and it's got highs and lows, and it's pure entertainment. And that's what got me through the dark times was sports. And that's why it was sort of, again, is 2021 suck more than 2020? Yeah, it kind of does, because that was an outlet to go root for the Seahawks.
Right. Well, I had the Cougs, so it was
That's
my good
true.
outlet. And I have to say, okay, and I've been total homer here too, but you know, after Rolovich was fired by WSU for not getting vaccinated, and the other coaches as well, what I saw was a group of was a team and a coach that really did this, Jake Dickert and his staff, that really rose to the occasion. And
Hmm.
I went over to the game they played right after he was fired that week, and they played BYU, and I think a lot of people didn't give them much hope in that game. They stuck with those guys, and BYU is a really good team.
Oh, they were
And
what? They beat every Pac-12 team this year.
right, and then what is it? The following week they go down to Arizona, and Arizona State. They play Arizona State in Arizona and just kick butt. But they stepped up. There was this unity, this just energy and passion with the team that was really great to see. And it just, yeah, I'm a Coug, and like I said,
Well,
I'm a
but it's
homer
it's a
about it.
metaphor for life. I mean,
There
the
you
fact
go.
is focused, and focused on a common purpose and a
Right.
common goal can accomplish a lot.
Yep.
That's what's wrong with the country right now. We're not
Yeah.
focused on a common goal. We're
Right.
focused at vilifying each other. And of
Right.
course, you want to talk about conquer and divide. That's what's going on. They've divided this country. I don't
Yeah.
know who's going to try to conquer it, other than Putin got, booted out of office when Trump left.
I don't know, but
But it
I,
is. It's
it
the ultra wealthy against the 99%.
and going back to kind of the sports thing again, if we could find a way to have this passion to come back to make, like the Cougs did, they stepped up, and they ended up having a great season, and it was hopeful, and it was something that it was a feel good thing. We need that as a country. And
Hmm.
I don't want any bad thing to happen. We obviously are, as we speak right now, the country is looking at what the devastation that's happened in Kentucky and in Missouri and Arkansas and other places that were hit by the tornado. And you know I think unfortunately we're going to see more of that. But these are the things where we need to rise to the occasion and to help our fellow Americans, and and hopefully get ourselves together again as a country and feel this sense of unity as Americans. That's what I hope for in 2022,
Well,
and
and the other
I
thing
hope it
is,
happens.
there's one word, right? Empathy.
Yes.
We need to have empathy.
All right.
And maybe that's the word for next year, is empathy.
2022, the year of empathy. That would be good. Why not? Why
Yep.
not? All right. Well, we're going to continue with the podcast in 2022. Why not? And keep trying to find those voices in communities of color that will bring us some great stories, good interviews. And, this has been a lot of fun, Matt. And I'm glad that we're friends. I'm glad that we're able to do this. And, just glad you're my buddy.
Okay, thanks a lot, and
All
have a
right.
great year.
You too. All right.